Welcome back to the Ref Show. As you can probably tell looking at the panel, it's all a question of age. That is top of my agenda. On this, average age is top of my agenda. Not of the You Are the Ref panel, but of the select group in the Premier League. And the reason I raise it, apart from an article that's on the site, is that Chris Kavanagh made only his second appearance in the Premier League in the middle. He's aged 32, been promoted, newly promoted. Came through okay, I think. Brighton 3, West Brom 1. Important that he had a good game and that he's coming through?
I think what is important with these referees, the young referees that are coming through, is to give them games consistently. That builds their confidence, it builds their experience. Rather than this, like they have one here and then 6 weeks later they might have another one. You know, it's a little bit like Paul Tierney. Tierney's had 2 Football League games. I'm still looking for him on the Premier League. He, on what I've seen in the past, is a good, competent referee that ought to be getting more games frequently. To put people like Lee Mason, Mike Jones, the older end of referees, under pressure, because the old scenario is we've got to admit this is a young man's game, and movement and positioning is so important. I also recognise that since we changed to professional refereeing, with that level of training that they get, that has extended their lifestyle, length of life on a particular competition. But we have now the group of the oldest referees in Europe, and we will hide behind the fact that European legislation has done that. You can't retire people just on the whim of an age. The question I'd ask then, why is Spain retiring referees at 45? Why did Germany look at between age 43 and 46 to retire their referees? Because the whole argument here is that I know in the system, I've seen week in, week out, good performances, say at North East Counties League. I really do, under the stewardship of Dave Morrell. He's got a group of top-class referees who are capable of moving through, but they're in a logjam. So we've got loads of young referees, even in SG2, who are not getting this opportunity.
Right. Well over half the select group, I think there's 18 in total in the select group, well over half are in their 40s, David. One's 52, Roger East.
As Keith mentioned there, you know, the lads at 30, 32 coming through, getting games so far apart.
Yeah.
They've got, I agree with Keith, they've got to be going in there week in, week out to learn the game.
Yeah.
To learn and get a grip. Don't get me wrong, they're going to make mistakes, but that's what it's all about. Then when they get up into the 35, then they're on the top of the game.
Yeah. You can't blame a referee, though, who reaches 45, 46, 47 and thinking, crikey, it's a good living, this.
Well,
I want another year.
It is a good living, yeah, we can all say that. But, I mean, I mentioned before the show of, you know, does the game tell you when to finish?
It can't,
It
though.
will to a lot of referees, like it does players.
But
if players can still work up there.
If they're still achieving the marks.
But this is what I'm saying. If you're achieving your marks, in any profession, why aren't you allowed to go on?
This is a difficult argument.
You mentioned earlier about the Klatz, Halsey, you know, retiring early. They've got more to offer.
Yeah,
let them give it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are all sorts of reasons why these guys retired, but ultimately, at the end of the day, they weren't getting the games. You know, they weren't getting the games, or they weren't being treated, or appeared not to be treated as senior citizens with the credibility that they deserve. But it was their choice. But I do think that we have got a problem, and I do think there are a nucleus of referees within the select group who ought to call it.
There's a few that
there
are consistently mentioned.
There are more than a few.
Let's be fair, Keith. They'll know who you are.
They do,
You know what I mean?
and I don't have to keep repeating it. And there must be some younger referees that can come through. You know, we brought Michael Oliver through with Nursing Atwell. These were young referees coming through. At the end of the day, this is the reality. We've got no one going for the World Cup, so in Russia we're not going to have an English referee. We've got on effectively the Champions League, right? We've got Martin Atkinson, who will retire from that position in December for sure. He's already on an extended period. So as of Christmas onwards, we're unlikely to have, unless Oliver or Taylor's promoted, we're unlikely to have an elite UEFA referee. Italy have got 4.
That's a subject of
Which
concern.
is crazy when we're talking about one of the best leagues in the world.
Yeah,
Correct.
subject of concern. Just to wrap up the Premier League before we move on to the Championship, Anthony Taylor, Arsenal 3, Bournemouth 0. There's only one card in that game, by the way, and he's a good performing referee, I think. Everton 0, Spurs 3 was Graham Scott, and Lee Mason, Leicester 1, Chelsea 2. All seem to go without undue incident, so well done the referees.
I
Yeah,
watched Graham Scott's performance. He's got stature, he's got movement. Again, I think he's another referee this season that ought to get more games, and let's hope that he moves on. You know, this whole argument, Alan, is very much, you're either a Premier League player, and the reason you're a Premier League player is one, fitness, but it's reading and anticipating the game.
Yes.
And you develop that naturally. David had that skill set to understand what was happening in the build-up of play, to move into ideal positions
And then
put the ball in the back of the
then
net.
It's a miss, yes, I know what you're saying.
And that's a skill
Yeah,
set.
of course it is.
And you
It was,
develop
yeah.
that. And
But
you develop
that's
that
getting
through
you
experience.
through experience, exactly. Developing your knowledge of the game to put yourself in the right position.
Okay. A couple of referees doing houses, as you've now coined it, in the Championship. Clean sheet, no cards, forget the cards. Darren Bond, that was in the Friday game. I tell you what, Hull City wish they could have kept a clean sheet as well. They lost 5-0 at Derby.
Yeah.
And Scott Duncan, Aston Villa 0, Brentford 0, no cards at all. Just to mention one negative, Andy Davis, this was QPR's 2-1 victory over Ipswich. Both managers, this is quite telling, both managers admitted the referee missed a clear handball in the build-up to Rangers' first goal, and it was important because it turned out to be a decisive goal with only one goal in it. So Andy Davis
Both
under
managers shouted for that.
Both managers, obviously Mick McCarthy complained, but Ian Holloway of QPR came straight out and said, look, we were lucky. That first goal should have been disallowed. There was a handball in the build-up.
Is that not where we have the little bit of technology on the touchline?
Well, it could be, but it seems to be a little while coming in the Premier League, let alone the Championship. And just finally, honourable mentions of two female officials, two female referees, Bibiana Steinhaus in Germany, and this one's kind of slipped under the radar, Lorraine Watson in Scotland. Now, the other one's probably better known. Lorraine Watson, over the weekend, became the first female referee in Scottish men's football. She refereed the League Two clash between Edinburgh City and Berwick Rangers. So
I think it's fantastic that all the difficulties that women have to go through in terms of football. Yeah. It's a male-dominated sport, sadly. It's growing in other parts of the world, less so here. So she's gone through all that. She's passed the fitness tests and all that goes with it, and then delivers performances. And she'll have delivered performances over a period of time in order to achieve that position. Yeah. Remarkable, and it's amazing that the Scottish FA, the Scottish leagues, have got that wide vision that we in England appear not to have. We haven't got anybody, apart from obviously Sian Massey's consistently on the line in the in Premier League and doing well.
What league was that in?
This was in Scottish League Division 2, so it's kind of well down.
She's certainly braver than I am.
Yeah.
That's not an easy league, by the way.
No, it's not.
You know, Scottish football at any level, you'd have to say that was a hard. And now the Bundesliga, the first woman to referee a game in Germany's Bundesliga, 38 years of age, a police officer actually, Bibiana Steinhaus. It was Hertha Berlin against Werder Bremen, finished 1-1, 49,000 there, so a bit of a hothouse, only one yellow card shown, so it would appear that she's come through very, very well.
I think, I know German refereeing structure, 80,000 referees, all about performance. Training, coaching, education of referees is absolutely superb, and I think there is a clear pathway for referees from grassroots level right through to the very top. Gender's not a problem, and I think sometimes England needs to have, and the English FA needs to have a look at itself, stop doing the talking bits, and actually ensure that there is a pathway. You know, we've seen Stacey referee Howard games in the Uden Trophy and do extremely well. You know, she's a referee that demands and ought to have promotion. Shouldn't have to hit the barriers of negativity around gender.
Yeah, and it's great to see. And of course, they can be flag bearers, can't they, coming through?
Absolutely.
They inspire others. It never quite happened with Wendy Toms when she was the first in the English professional game.
Yeah. She was a good referee.
Yeah.
I think around that was just fitness. Wendy's ability to actually meet the standard of the men's levels.
Right.
Now I think since then adjustments have been made to meet the requirements.
I mean, when you look at the amount of boys, men getting into the refereeing side of the game, is there that many girls?
No.
Looking to do it, so you're always going to have that shortfall. That's why I'm going.
Well, it's a great sign and a
it's
great.
Never going to balance.
It is
a great point. Great point to finish with. Thanks as ever to our panel, David Hurst and to Keith Hackett, and thank you to you for watching. Hope you can join us again for another Ref Show next week. We'll see you then. Thanks, boys.